Hey everyone, I'm Andrea Goulet,
I'm Scott Ford, and this is Ada.
and she's our daughter. Scott and I own a software development company together, and we're at a national technology conference. And I gave a lightning talk about why we brought our daughter to the conference. And so I couldn't post the actual talk because of copyright reasons, but I wanted to at least just replicate the slides since those are my own content and just share very similar content about why I chose to, or why we chose to to bring Ada to this conference. So enjoy.
Thanks.
So today I'm going to present So a Baby Walks into a Tech Conference, Confronting Maternal Bias in the Software Industry. So who am I? Well, this is me with my business partner Scott, and I'm the CEO of Corgibytes. And Corgibytes is a software development company, and we focus on refactoring legacy code. So we work with lots of software, we have lots of clients, and we really love what we do. And Scott and I are both equal partners in the business, and we really enjoy what we're doing. In addition to being business partners, Scott and I are both life partners, and these are our two children, Simon and Ada, and we love them very much. In fact, so much that they're an integral part of our life. The way that we've set up our business, both for ourselves and for our employees, is that we have incredibly flexible arrangements. So this is a picture of me coding while my baby is on my chest. So work and life is really more integrated than it is balanced, and the lines between work and life are really blurred, and that's what enables us to both enjoy the work that we do and both work full-time and give our children the care and attention that we feel they deserve. So one of the things that's important to notice is that gendered workplace norms and policies limit men's and women's ability to create gender egalitarian relationships. So if these types of systems, for example, that we have in our office where you can work kind of wherever and whenever you want, or there's childcare available if you're going to more of a traditional site, if they don't exist, then it's really difficult to have that equal partnership. And so Scott and I went to a conference. Scott was chosen as a speaker, but the content was incredibly relevant to what I was doing. But the challenge was that we had a 10-week-old baby. It's important to note also that women and men both want egalitarian partnerships. So when surveyed, 95% of college-educated women and 75% of college-educated men said they wanted to have this kind of equal partnership at home. But when the traditional workplace policies and norms make equality difficult, so for example, we didn't have childcare at the conference, and so we thought maybe one of us would have to stay home, then what happens? Well, traditional gender roles emerge, and in traditional gender roles, the woman tends to stay at home and leave her career behind and really be the one who takes care of the house and the kids, while the men go off and continue to prosper in their career. So there's research that demonstrates that this is what happens. And so the problem is really systemic. It's not that women don't want to participate, it's that the systems are in place to allow them to participate. And this was the problem that my partner and I were running into. Both of us wanted to participate, but we were really trying to figure out how to make this work. So I was talking about this with one of my friends, and she told me about a conference called the Grace Hopper Celebration of Women in Computing. And if you're outside of the tech industry or software really, Grace Hopper is this amazing software developer who worked in the 1950s. She developed a lot of the kind of language that we use today. She was the first one to coin the term bugs in software because literally she found a cockroach on a punch card, way back when. And so she's incredibly important to the history of women in computing. And my friend said, oh, well, you should, instead of going to this conference, why don't you try going to Grace Hopper because they have childcare. And when I heard that a professional conference would offer childcare, mind blown. I couldn't even conceptualize that was something that could take place because I was so used to existing in this realm of traditional gender roles. So now that I kind of knew it was a possibility that I could blur the lines between business and kind of in life, and what we were trying to do wasn't really that different, we decided to think about it. And okay, well, maybe we could make this work. Maybe I don't have to stay home. Maybe we don't have to conform to traditional gender roles. What's a way that we can make this work? So um, we build software, so we're used to solving problems in a way that, we kind of have frameworks for doing this. We're scientists. We're used to coming up with hypotheses. So that's exactly what we decided to do. So we came up with a problem statement. How can we both attend Agile 2015 while giving our newborn the attention and food that she needs? So the next step was to come up with a number of different possible solutions or hypotheses that would work. Um, Scott's mother, we thought about maybe getting her a separate room and that she would be able to hang out with both of the kids. And actually, this is something we found that as we went throughout the conference, a lot of people did this. A lot of people brought their kids to conferences and either brought their in-laws or, their spouse came and took care of the kids during the day. But, this was a very popular option we found. We could have it where I just stay home. Scott was speaking, so if one of us was going to stay home, it would have to be me. So that was an option. The next was that Scott would speak, and then we would kind of take off days. So he would speak, and then he would come watch the kids, and I would go to the conference. But that didn't really feel very congruent to us either. We thought about hiring a nanny for a week, but that seemed like a lot of overkill and also a lot of expense. Nannies are really expensive, and for us, we just didn't feel comfortable kind of, having somebody who wasn't necessarily vetted. If we were going to hire a nanny at home, we would go through several interviews. And because this conference wasn't in the city that we lived, that kind of made it challenging. So, the expense and then just kind of there was a factor there that we weren't quite comfortable with. So the last option was, well, what if we just kind of had the baby come with us? And out of all the options that we brainstormed, this seemed like the most viable one. So we were like, okay, well, let's do an experiment. And luckily, the community of developers that were coming to this conference also shared this kind of idea of experiment and try new things and be collaborative. So we figured, if we're gonna try an experiment at a conference, this one has a culture where it's very likely to succeed. So the next thing we did was we did a risk-benefit analysis to really kind of figure out, what's the likelihood, like what's the cost-benefit analysis. So risks, we thought we might get thrown out. So I had images of myself just walking up to the registration desk and the person saying, sorry, you have a baby, so you can't attend, and your $2,000, it's down the toilet, and we really don't care. I also, we kind of knew that maybe people might look at us as unprofessional, or, the baby cries during a talk, and that's incredibly disruptive and disrespectful. We thought that our business might lose some credibility because they didn't, we have a baby, and, do business people really have families? So much of our traditional workplace culture really kind of tries to hide our family and, kind of brush them on the rug. Like, I don't have a family, I can work a bazillion hours a week. So we thought, if we expose our true selves, that we might lose some credibility for our business. And finally, we thought, we have a really good baby. I mean, she genuinely doesn't cry very much, compared to other babies that we know. She's pretty easy to take care of. But we thought that maybe that's just our own bias, and perhaps the baby is needier than we thought. Maybe it's just because she's at home, and if we kind of change the environment, she might be fussier. So that was another risk as well. So then we thought about the benefits, and if we brought the baby, then both of us would get to attend the conference, and the baby would get what she needs. When we attended, our daughter was 10 weeks old, and so at that age, really what a baby needs is to snuggle and eat. And I was breastfeeding at the time, so there's a lot of she would get exactly what she needs. We also thought, hey, maybe it would be a good icebreaker. Like, it's a good way to kind of stand out. Like, people are going to notice that you have a baby with you. And, babies and puppies, they tend to be things that bring out the human side of people. We thought it might be just a really good bonding experience. We would get pictures, and it would be a good family kind of adventure that we would be able to kind of look back on. And then another benefit was that, this conference that didn't offer childcare, we could demonstrate that there was a need for childcare in the industry. So we decided to go ahead and go for it. And I was really, really, really anxious. I was confident, but literally days before the conference, I was racked with anxiety. I was having dreams of, just people hating me and scowling at me and telling me that they didn't want me there, and, just blasting my company and saying that I was totally unprofessional. So I had a lot of anxiety right up to the event, to the point where I almost bailed at the last minute. We had checked into the hotel. We had, had everything set up. We went down to walk to registration, and I almost was just like, nope, nope, I'll stay in the hotel. I can't do this. But luckily, that wasn't the case. We did go, and so I posted this picture to my social media, and I was really surprised because I started getting um, responses like, I'm a feminist warrior, which I've never really thought of myself that way. I don't really see myself always as a feminist. I definitely believe that women should be able to work and be moms, but when I think of the loud kind of protesting, angry feminists that I kind of have in my head, I don't see myself in that group. But other people did. I just really see myself as a mom who doesn't want to have to choose between their kids and her career. So, what were the results of this grand experiment? Well, we're happy to report that it was really positive. Everyone was really, really, really supportive. There was a hashtag that kind of emerged during the conference of Agile Baby, and just we had so many people come up to us and offer us support and say thank you for coming and bringing your baby. We also noticed that there were a lot of other parents who brought kids. I mean, we were really, really surprised by the number of other parents who either had a spouse that was up in the room, or they had brought their in-laws. But there were a lot of people who either had their children with them at the conference, or they had brought their kids either the week before or the week after, and they were planning on spending time kind of as a vacation within the city. The good thing was that both of us got to attend the conference. We got a lot out of it. And Scott's talk went really well, and we connected with some really, really, really amazing people. And it looks like, our business is going to, do well because of this conference, just as if we would have expected. So here are some pictures, of how kind of logistically we did it. We had an Ergo Baby carrier that Scott and I switched during the day. So we would have, morning shifts and afternoon shifts. And I kind of had the baby on the front and backpack on the back. And I also had a diaper bag with all of my stuff. So it was a lot of stuff to carry, but it worked out really well. When she needed to eat, there, were plenty of places to sit around the conference. And so I brought a cover and nursed her just like I would, if I was at home. And, as you can see, most people are just kind of going about the job and doing their thing. They weren't, no one was staring, and no one kind of really looked at me weird. So what lessons did we learn? And if you decide that you want to bring your baby to a conference, then, what are some things that you should keep in mind? Well, I learned that you really need to know your child. We decided that this experiment was right for us because our daughter is really chill. She is happy just kind of hanging out in the Ergo Baby for a long period of time, and she's really predictable. Her cry, this sounds strange, but compared to my other child, I have a son, and his cry when he was a newborn was really piercing, and hers isn't. So her cry is kind of less disruptive and less annoying. So you really have to kind of know your child and just know, would their personality be a good fit for this experiment? We found that staying in the conference hotel was critical. I don't think that I would have been able to do this as well if we had stayed at a hotel kind of off premise, because there were many times during the day where I needed to go up and nurse, or like she wasn't kind of dealing with the cover well, and there wasn't a good place to nurse in the hotel. So having that place within the hotel that I could just take a quick elevator ride up really made a big difference. A lot of people, kind of as I was walking around, they kind of had a look like, oh, that's a baby. And it was just kind of an unexpected look. And I had a mantra that was going through my head that this is normal. Yeah, of course it's a baby. And I would just look people straight in the eye, smile, and make eye contact. And people genuinely started smiling back. And I think that was a really big thing. If I had gone in and kind of projected my own anxiety onto them and said, oh, they hate me, or oh, she's scowling and she's judging me, I would have had a really, really difficult time. But instead I kind of decided to, once I kind of got comfortable, and I had a few people who were like, hey, that's awesome, I love your baby, she's so cute. Once I had a couple of people do that under my belt, I decided that, hey, this is normal, and I'm going to treat it as normal, and you should too. Look at, yeah, hey, nice to meet you. I also found that it was really critical to bring a partner. So if you're a single parent, find someone who can help you throughout the day, because wearing a baby, going to a conference anyway is really, really exhausting. So, but bringing a partner with you to help with the baby and kind of help with logistics, we found that was really, really invaluable. And again, neither of us feel like we'd really be able to do this kind of on our own. So definitely having someone to help is a huge, huge thing. And finally, just be prepared to miss content. When our baby cried, we would politely step out of the room. There was one instance where I couldn't do that because I was in the middle of answering a question at the talk. But again, just kind of stayed that smile and make eye contact. I made a little joke about how it's never too early to learn Agile, and people kind of went along with it. But just be prepared that you're not going to get the same conference experience that you would if you didn't have your baby with you. And so just kind of set your expectations accordingly. And that's another reason why it's important to bring a partner, because if there is a session that is really important that you attend, so for example, Scott really wanted to connect it with this author that he really respected, and he was giving a talk, and he really, really wanted to make that connection. So I wanted to make sure that I had point on the baby during that talk, and then Scott could devote his attention 100%. But she was fussy during that time, so I didn't get to go to that talk. So just be prepared to miss content, but kind of enjoy that there's circumstances, and it's a great opportunity to kind of have some of those happenstance connections in the hallway. So if you're interested in learning more about childcare at conferences, my suggestion would be to go to this website, gracehopper.org /attend/childcare, and they have some great resources there, and they kind of explain how their process works. So that's a great place to start your research journey. And then I think you can go even further and just really support diversity in tech. So you can start to request childcare at conferences. You can also show support for parents. There were so many people who came up to me and said, I really appreciate you bringing your baby. I don't have kids, but I know how hard that is, and I really respect what you're doing. And even if you don't have kids, just showing that support means the world, because we really are trying to be respectful and at the same time balance everything. You can start to question policies and norms. So, one of my questions here was, well, why isn't there, if everybody's bringing their kids, why don't we have childcare at conferences? And then finally, you can start to learn about unconscious bias, especially maternal bias. There's some really great resources. Facebook has done a fantastic job with Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In initiative on really just kind of starting to expose some of the unconscious bias that we have within the software industry. And they've open sourced some of their training resources, which is huge. I learned by taking that training that personally, I have a very strong maternal bias. And even though I'm in the technology industry and I love my job and I'm working, underlying and kind of in an unconscious way, I believe that women should be at home with the children and men should be off at work. And that a lot of that is because of cultural norms and the way I grew up and things that are completely outside of my control. And just being aware of that and recognizing that I have that belief kind of helps me. That was part of why I was so nervous, because I expected everyone else to have the same bias that I did. But there is most definitely a maternal bias out there. So just researching about it and kind of learning about it yourself. One other thing that I wanted to mention was the Agile 2015 was really, really great, and I gave a lightning talk on this at the conference, and there was a board member at the talk who listened to what I had to say and came up to me afterwards and said that they hadn't considered having childcare, and that they would definitely have a discussion about it. So no promises that they're going to have childcare, but I did have some, it did kind of make a little dent into somebody's consciousness. And isn't that kind of the whole point of all of this, is just kind of trying to make all of these egalitarian support systems more normalized. So thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on Twitter. I'm really active. And also, if you wanted me to present at your conference on this, I'm happy to, and just reach out and get in touch. Thank you so much, and enjoy.